Hello, Senior Stoner fans. It's the real Senior Stoner back at you for your Aura Dab of the Day. Today's Friday. Normally, I build these discussions out of my real life experiences. Today, I'm going to build it out of, unfortunately, someone else's. We need to all hope this never happens to us. But if it happens to us, we need to really talk about it so we can deal with it. Let's get started. Many of us have loved ones that care for us, that really take care of us. I'm not bedridden, but if I was, I'm sure Mrs. Stoner would stop working and take care of me. So let's assume, for the sake of this conversation, that what I'm talking about are people who have individuals in their lives that are their caretakers. They're nurses, they're caretakers. Can be a loved one, can be a wife or a spouse, can be a significant other in an unmarried relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, etc. Can even be a caregiver that you hire. Maybe there's somebody who's been with you a long time, who you trust, who really cares for you, even though you pay them. That's possible too. So these scenarios present themselves a lot when people can't take care of themselves any longer. Either they have money and they have people that come in and do it, care for them, or their loved ones take care of them and their every need. It's what we do. What happens if something happens to that system? I guess what I'm saying is you're in that system. You, as the person getting the care, has zero control over the external influences. So if something catastrophic happens to the caregiver, what happens to you? For me, when Mrs. Stoner goes away to see her dad or something, it's very difficult for me to be alone, but I make it through. What if it wasn't possible? What if I couldn't be alone? Many of us out there can't be. What do we do if our system is totally blown up? In the case of the person I'm speaking about, God bless him and his wife. He found out that his wife has stage 4 cancer. This individual needs the help of his wife. His wife is his caregiver. And then now he needs, or someone needs to care for her, and both of them. Now what happens? What happens if the person that you have taken care of you, has been with you 22 years, passes away? How do you replace that person? You're frozen. You're like, huh? And you don't know what to do. And your capabilities aren't what they used to be, so you really don't know what to do. And if you were really paying someone because you didn't have a loved one, now what do you do? Can you let money do the talking and try to get someone else? Well, you're probably going to have to spend a lot more than you were spending, because if it's been a long-term relationship, the person's there because they care for you, not necessarily for the money. You're going to have to go find someone who does just care about the money, but who can care for you. It's a weird situation, but it happens. Let's take another scenario. All your life, you've been the sick one. Your spouse has been the healthy one. The plan has happened so that when you go, your wife gets this, or reverse, your husband gets this, whoever the sick one is, you have the plan. Going to the market one day, the healthy one gets hit by a car. It happened on SEAL Team on TV. Instead of Jason, the team leader, being killed in Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Somalia, wherever he goes on his missions of kill and capture, where he'll get killed or captured, he comes home to find out his bride has been hit by a car. Now what do you do? These situations unfortunately happen. I do not want to be talking about this, I promise you. But we need to. I talked about it with Mrs. Stoner last night. And she said, you know what? We should really talk about that. It's a horrible thing to talk about. I'm looking at her saying, I can't talk about if something happened to you, God forbid. She said, we really need to talk about it. We didn't talk about it, but we need to. What do you do? Well, I think the following, and this is now something that I might even do. Listen to myself on. I think a list has to be developed. A list on a computer, on a piece of paper, wherever you want to do it. And you got to start writing things down because we forget. You got to have a list, a hierarchy list, I would call it. Who or what would be your fallbacks. If it's going to be an agency, you have enough money, get the name of the agency, call them. Identify yourself. Just say, I want to say hi in case I need you. Literally, get them interviewed now. You know, I say that because, believe it or not, it's better to fix your roof when the sun is shining than to fix it when the rain is pouring in. Even if you have Flex Seal and Flex Tape, you really need to think about what I'm saying. People buy their funeral plots and pay for their funerals in advance because they don't want their families going through the stress, and they don't want their families being victims of a salesman who's trying to take advantage of a situation. So in this situation, there's no salesman. But in this situation, you've really got to say to yourself, I've got to have a single or secondary or tertiary tiered system so that if something happens to my support system, I got a backup. This is not Senior Stoner who can get out of the house in a car. What if you can't? And what if your town's not necessarily the best town to help seniors? But let's get into it. You do have senior services in most communities. There are Meals on Wheels. There are people or places now all over America that deliver. If you don't want to get things that you have to cook, get something you can microwave. I wouldn't advise seniors who are stoners like me, doing a lot of cooking. I leave the stove on. Mrs. Stoner gets very upset. I leave boiling water on. I leave soup on, and it ends up all over the place because I walk away. So that is not something you want to do. You want to get a service to help you, and if you can't afford it, Medicare, Medicaid has ways to help you also. Look into government support services. I know some friends of mine who have had to use them. They're there for you, depending on the state and the county you live in. But look into it. If you qualify, you can get everything from Meals on Wheels delivered to rides to doctor's offices. And I sound like Joe Namath on the Medicare commercial, but you know what I'm saying. This has to be done. This has to be done and stuck up on the refrigerator with a magnet. So God forbid something happens, you know the first place to go. You know, in the old days, when somebody passed away, the first call you made was the lawyer. You know, for the will. Hey, no way, baby. God forbid something like that happens, the first call you make is the person that's going to take over helping you. You're alone. You're going to be met by police and rescue squad, God forbid. And you're not going to be able to do anything. You need to have this support system that you can turn on as soon as you need to with a key. And that key is your credit card or your check or raising your hand that I need you. Now, if you have a nephew, a cousin, a brother, a son, a daughter that can help you, put them on the list. This is the money people, the people you got to pay are at the bottom of the list, obviously. Friends, relatives, people you can get enlist. I have a friend from high school who got a degree in psychology and decided to be a geriatric psychologist. Well, his cousin, about 15 years older than him, got very ill. He knew all about how to take care of people, how to handle the systems, etc., get them to doctors, handle the results. He started taking care of that person. He got paid for it, but it was a family member. You never know unless you try to uncover what's under that stone, what you'll find. What I'm encouraging you all to do, even us that can get out still, have a contingency system in place, something. Because if you're smacked in the face by horrible circumstance that really take away the people that care for you, forget the love and affection, that take away the people that care from you, you need to have a fallback position. What if you relocate? What if you're about to move? Well, you better make sure you have a care system where you're moving. It's no different. You know, if you were in a stationary place, a nursing home, and you moved to a new nursing home, before you moved into the new nursing home, you'd want to make sure that they had the bed ready, the room ready, my phone was connected, my TV was ready, they knew that I liked certain foods maybe, I knew that my doctor was going to be there, I had already met the nurses. You know what I'm saying? This is about preparation. And I am terribly, terribly apologetic that the topic has to come out. but it needs to be uncovered. This is one of those nasty topics that we shroud and keep covered. And that's why when it happens, everybody has nasty, nasty, horrible times with it. You're still going to have a horrible time with it. I'm always going to tell you the truth. It's going to suck. But if you can listen to these tips and maybe just take a hair of the pressure off yourself, maybe that'll be less pain for you. I can't take away the heart pain. I can't take away the misery when that happens, when you lose someone, a caregiver, or worse, a loved one. But we cannot put our heads in the sand, either ahead of it, when it's happening, or afterwards. Things can get worse for us. We must remember that. We live in a slippery slope. So what happens, when that happens, the analogy I would give you is you're on a slippery slope when you've been hit with a boulder, and it's going to want to move you further down that slope. You have to dig in, hold on, and say, I'm holding on because I might have a solution to help. You cannot replace what happened, but there's a solution that might help. That's all. And if you give it a little effort, maybe you won't get swept off the mountain. Let's take this dab. Today we are going to have Sativa Northern Lights, an old reliable. Reason I'm using the Oura, by the way, everybody, is my throat's been a little scratchy because I've been dabbing too much, and I need to cut down on dabbing during the day, other than the dab of the day. And this is one of the smoother devices I have, so that's why I'm breaking it out today, in case anybody's wondering why the Oura is in the rotation today. Let's get it to my desired temperature, which is green. Here we are. And please put in perspective the topic today. It's built out of this horrible situation for this individual and his wife, but it is a topic that if we don't think about it ever, it pop in our face and will blow up. This can take the edge off just a hair. I hope it will. I truly do. Cheers. Very smooth. Everyone out there, try to have a painless Friday. Try to implement some of these advanced protocols. Cheers.